and welcome back to the channel, and also hello to our Talk Nonsense viewers. As you can see, I'm joined by Dom Meadowcroft, 1/3, as we are, of the Talk Nonsense podcast. And I'm afraid to say it's time to talk about the biggest game in football, the Champions League final between Manchester City and Inter Milan. Dom, how are you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I like you say, I'm almost the same reaction as you, but we can divulge into the Champions League final as well. But I'm doing great. How are you, mate? I know that obviously, as a Liverpool fan, this might take a little bit of this conversation.
It's just weird. At this point, it is just weird because this game, obviously, we've been involved in 3 finals in the last few years, so it's been brilliant to watch it when we're in it. And even in some seasons when we've not been in the final, it's still been a fun watch. But this one it's the least anticipated in my own head. It's the least anticipated Champions League final ever. But the love for the competition is still there, and I will be watching it, praying for a miracle. But I don't think it's going to come. So I thought we'd start off just talking about, the build-ups to the final for both teams. Obviously, Man City have steamrolled through everybody who's everybody in the Champions League, really, haven't they? And
I'm just looking at the stats here.
Yeah,
Man City got 14 points in the group stage. They beat the likes of Borussia Dortmund, Sevilla, obviously, who love being in the Europa League. Copenhagen. Actually, didn't Copenhagen draw against? They did 0-0. They beat Leipzig 7-0 at home in the round of 16. So that's irrelevant what the other one was. And then the quarterfinal against Bayern Munich. Everyone thought that could be the one that gets them 1-3-0 at home. And then Real Madrid, the Real Madrid, Real Madrid beat them 4-0 at home. Yeah. It's that great. It's boring.
Yeah, it is, and I think you're completely right. And obviously, it tells the tale because they've just won the Premier League, they've just won the FA Cup, and here we are. So we're talking the famous treble. We're talking the Manchester United 1999 style treble that we haven't seen anyone come close to. Liverpool had a go, the other year, and we got close, but it never really felt on because this team were a part of the situation. If this Man City team weren't there, I think we'd have won all 4 trophies. I think we'd have won the league and then gone forward. They're here, and they're depressing because they just win everything. They find a way all the time, and credit to them, really, because, won't talk about the certain things off the field, 115 things off the field, but they've built an incredible team with an incredible manager, and they play football that devastates the best teams in the world. You look at that Real Madrid game.
Well, we just spoke about it, didn't we?
Crazy, yeah. And so it's, it's boring in a sense, but a lot of people online debate that it should be celebrated. I think I'll ask you, as a Blackburn fan who doesn't have too much of a rivalry, of a hatred for Man City, what does it feel like for you? Does it feel like boring? Does it feel like something that, does it offend you like it offends most of us who have some form of thing against them?
Well, first and foremost, you're forgetting the classic tie in 2000 in the Championship when Man City won the league at Ewood Park. Yeah. So let's not behave that we are clearly rivals. Manchester was part of Lancashire at one point as well, so let's not forget that. And Liverpool were at one point as well. So come on, we're relevant.
I wasn't saying that. Hey, I wasn't saying that. Well, I mean, somebody on the outside looking in.
Obviously, I'm being facetious. Man City are obviously the side that everyone fears and everyone doesn't want in any sort of cup. Be it when we're in the 3rd round of the FA Cup, you don't want City. You don't want City. You want any other side because they're just so boring that you just know that you're going to lose 5-0. But that's a positive. That's just such a everyone's trying to find a negative for City and it doesn't happen. Yeah. Look at what people said about Haaland at the start of the season. Oh, he's come from Bundesliga. He won't do much. He smashed it, obviously, clearly. Grealish is in top form. Gundogan's leaving. Everyone's like, oh, City might be they might not click again. They'll have reserves and they'll have the third team that are better than most Premier League sides. It's like the Manchester United, but on cocaine. It's insane, isn't it? Yeah. It's mental how great they are. And nobody wants to admit it. And nobody wants to be like, yes, they are the best side that probably the Premier League's ever seen. The best ever rivalry for the Premier League was probably Liverpool versus Man City in terms of competition. How much the
points totals, of
points total alone, that is the clear indicator, isn't it? So I think it just comes out of jealousy.
It does.
It's a worry because there's another side with a boatload of oil money on the way up as well. So, I mean, not only for Liverpool fans, but for fans like myself for Blackburn, it's such a distant memory now, or a distant, the likes of Luton, we're diluting a little bit, but the likes of Luton gives us hope, but the likes of Newcastle and Man City, I mean, it really does depress me.
I'm curious because we had to start with them, didn't we? But I'm curious, do you give Inter Milan even a glimmer of hope for this final? Is there any sense?
I mean, we're talking about Man City a lot, aren't we? But we need to talk about Inter Milan. Inter Milan have obviously, we're in the group with Barcelona, let's not forget. Barcelona side that won La Liga quite clearly by a long shot against Real Madrid. Bayern Munich were in that league as well. They beat Porto, who aren't ever an easy side, 1-0. They beat Benfica, which most people had as a dark horse.
They're tough work. Yeah, they're tough
work. Most people had them as a dark horse, and they beat AC Milan. And I think that most people would have put AC Milan to win that game. So this gives us hope, doesn't it? And I think what you'll speak about now is that the fact that, let's not forget that this is a 2-horse race.
There's 2 teams in it, isn't there? It's true, and it's so tough. It's the biggest shift in Champions League history for me that I can remember in my lifetime. Of they're not speaking about them at all, and it baffled me today. Onana is their goalkeeper, formerly of Ajax. He's a great goalkeeper. They've got Romelu Lukaku up front. When he fancies it, he's a powerhouse, devastating, unstoppable. They've got Nicolo Barella in midfield, a dream midfielder. They have players that are capable. Lautaro Martinez, World Cup winner.
Brozovic.
His performance in the fight. Exactly. And they have got
Mkhitaryan. You're not forgetting, by the way, Handanovic is the captain as the goalkeeper. You got Dzeko, Gozins, De Vries. We got Kanachoglu as well, who's no mean feat. Serbi as well. There's a lot of players there. Martinez,
World Cup winner. They have the squad, don't they? And it's obviously we live in this country. A team from this country are in the final, so you're bound to expect that a lot of the news stations are going to talk about our team, are they? The team from over here. But you look at this Inter Milan team, and obviously a lot of fans from the Premier League are rooting for them, of course. And I think, for me, the one thing that I'm holding on to is that they had to do something to get there, and they're here. They're in the final. You look at that Liverpool team 2005. There's so many underdog stories that have happened in this competition. That's why we love it, and that's why it's the biggest and the best. But I find myself on Twitter looking at coincidences. The last time that West Ham won a European trophy, Inter Milan won the Champions League.
Oh, really?
So I'm like, well, that's where we're at. That's how good this City team are, where we're looking at miracles.
And it's not just that. We're almost hoping that they would, take a back foot to this. To be honest with you, I think that what we're hoping for. But we talk about Man City's treble. Inter Milan have got a treble of their own. They won the Supercoppa Italia and the Coppa Italia, so not quite as impressive as Man City's if they win it, but it's a treble of their own. So let's not forget that. I mean, do you want to make a prediction of the tie? Is it a foregone conclusion, or?
It seems that way, doesn't it? I think I would not be surprised if we go into half time and the game's not worth watching. But to give Inter Milan a little bit of credit, I'd say hopefully nice and tight, keep it going to the latter stages. I just feel City are going to plough through that. I think worst case scenario 2-0. I feel awful saying this about a Champions League final. Worst case scenario 2-0. Best case scenario 2-0. Worst case scenario about 5-0. I genuinely think they're going to destroy. Hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong so much, and I will have my blue and black colours on tomorrow. Don't you worry. But what about you? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to hype up Inter Milan as much as we can, but I believe that Inter Milan probably are as good as Aston Villa. So I think that ultimately it will be a Man City win, and I'm looking forward to the soccer raid, to be honest, more than the actual Champions League final.
How could we forget the proper football on the weekend?
Now we've gone from the prelims, we'll talk about the main event of the soccer raid. Pep goes for Man City. That obviously, there's going to be a massive drop off.
I think you're right, but it's a question that gets brought up all the time, and I don't know if it's just from a Liverpool standpoint of being close all the time and not getting over there because of them. I feel like the way they are, they will get somebody in that just maintains what they already have, and I feel like the players. You look at how Kevin De Bruyne speaks to Pep Guardiola. He speaks to him like. If you ever see the interactions on and off the field, when they're talking to each other, they're telling each other to F off and all the time, and it's the counteractions aren't great. You don't see a camaraderie or a love between Pep and his players. You usually see him telling them off when he knows where the cameras are, but there isn't ever any form of. You might see here and there a few little sly hugs and that, not to the same extent of other clubs. Even clubs that haven't won much yet. So I've got a feeling that those players, their mentality is at a point and a level where it doesn't matter anymore. Pep's got them in that mindset. Obviously, it's his doing. He's got them playing in the roles that they're playing, and he's a genius at what he does, players like John Stones. But I genuinely believe that group of players has a mentality that can't be touched. And I feel like anybody who walks through the door will try and implement things. The reality is they're all just better. So they're just better players than the other teams in this country. So you can try and implement things all you want as a new manager of Manchester City. The reality is those players are going to go out on the pitch and they're going to win you the game. And that's as simple as that. I think that's exactly where we're at with Manchester City.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I do believe that we will see managers from this side, like say Xavi at Barcelona, who was a Pep Guardiola player, essentially.
It was a pleasure to have you on, Dom. The first of hopefully many appearances on this channel.
Absolutely, mate.
Obviously, on Talk Nonsense, we'll always be there. We'll always be doing it. But thank you for coming on. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. It helps so much. You've heard it before, but it does. Thank you very much, and we'll see you shortly. Thank you.